Good morning, everybody, or afternoon, depending on what part of the country you're in. Thank you for joining us today with Learn for Lift. We have a special treat in for you today. Tim Enochs is with us today. He is an executive coach. I've known Tim for about 5 years probably, and have done a lot of things. We've actually written a book together. Tim was my coach when I first started out. I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for Tim. So he's got a great resources, great things to offer us today. And I'm so excited to introduce my friend and colleague now, Tim. Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Gail. I'm so glad to be with you guys here today. Gail and Kristen at Lift Leadership are just phenomenal, but you guys know that. You're right, Gail. It's probably been about 5 years that we've known each other, and we've done a lot in those 5 years.
Yeah.
What Gail is doing in terms of assessments and delivery and all for organizations and people like you guys on the call today is just so powerful. Gail, we had a great time writing the book titled The Foundation. And if you guys haven't read it, I'm sure Gail can direct you to get a copy of it. And we'll look forward to comments of what you guys think after you read it. We think it's a pretty engaging story that tells some things that's really helpful. Gail is such a person of value and so focused on delivering great value. And that puts pressure on me today because obviously, that's what I want to do. I want to deliver great value to you guys today. So let's just jump in. You know, in thinking about our time together today, I was thinking we might have time to go over one or two tools concerning purpose in life and work and your vision for what you can accomplish. And I started thinking about it. I really wanted to do more than just scratch the surface. So I reached out to Gail and offered something. We're going to give you guys. And I believe Gail has the link, or maybe, I think, Gail, you emailed the link out to everybody.
Actually, it's up on the chat, so they can just take it directly from the chat. And if they need it, they can let us know. We can send it electronically too. Perfect.
So what we're going to do is we're going to give you guys 30 days free to Irrefutable Success University. And you can take that first month, and it's really a standalone month. If you take that and that's all you do, that's great. You'll be able to do some things we're going to talk about today. There's some tools in there that Gail and Lift Leadership are just giving to you guys as a gift for being with us today. So when I reference it, that's where you'll go to find some of the tools. As you know, we're living in some crazy times. And you may be hearing people say things like, don't let this get the best of you. You know, I get it in a way, but I kind of disagree. I really think you should let this get the best of you. In other words, give your best. Give your best every day during this time because it's just so important to be you and what you have to share with the world, and you just let it get the best of you. Give it your best because every day is game day. When you think about it. In my first book, I titled Every Day is Game Day. I wrote that game day is that day in which all of the past, now think about this, all of the past culminates with current actions to forever change the future. Everything you did or didn't do yesterday and all of the yesterdays before in your life culminate with the actions that you take today to forever change your future and the future of people around you. So that's how important today is. So let's start with two questions. One, what is purpose, and how can you discover yours? Well, purpose is hard to define because it's individual, it's unique, it's yours. But think about these words. Purpose begins to come into focus. So your purpose begins to come into focus at the point where desire intersects with potential. Your purpose begins to come into focus at the point where desire intersects potential. And you'll see as you work through some of the tools that if you're not interested in something, chances are it's not part of your purpose. If you are, then maybe it is. But if you don't have potential to do it, then it's probably not. I'll give you an example. I would have loved to play in the NFL, but there was only one thing that kept me out. It wasn't desire. It was one thing. It was a lack of talent. That's what kept me out. So the potential, I didn't have the potential to play in the NFL. So I don't think that's part of my purpose. If it was, it's too late anyway. But purpose begins to come into focus at the point where desire intersects with potential. Be thinking about that as we talk today. Okay, everybody look at the clock on your screen. And I have a 4-word question. It's so easy. We're going to try this if we can do it in the comments section. But a 4-word question. What time is it? Put your comments in if you can. If I don't see any comments come up, I think we were having some technical issues with the comments section. So I'll just pick somebody. Gail, go ahead and look at yours. I'm going to pick you. So Gail, what time is it?
Helps if I unmute myself, Tim, and I put it up there. My clock says 10:06 a.m.
10:06 a.m. And she's right for where she is. It's 12:06 where I am. And but we agree on the 06 part anyway. That's an easy question. You can look at your watch. You can look at your phone. 30 years ago, if I said you could look at your phone and tell what time it is, people would laugh. But you can look at your phone. You can look at your screen. What time is it? That's so easy. Now, stating time is easy. I've got the same 4 words in a different order, and I want you to think about this. Time. What is it? See the difference? What time is it? We can all tell time. Time, what is it? It's just hard to define. So stating the time is easy. Defining the time is hard. Stating that you have purpose in life, if I said, does everybody feel like they have a purpose in life? Yeah, absolutely. And then if I asked, what is your purpose? What is your purpose in life? That's a little harder. So here's a question, and think about this. Since comment section is not going to work, Gail, I'm going to keep picking on you, so stay off of mute for a minute. And we're going to pretend that this whole COVID-19 thing is not going on right now. It's just a regular day. So Gail, out of 100 people you might meet on the street, how many do you believe could state their purpose in life in 1 or 2 sentences?
Maybe 1.
That's probably a very high guess, but yeah, maybe 1 if they ask you. But yeah, maybe 1. So let's just say 1%. 1% of people in this world can state their purpose. That's sad when you think about it, because we all have purpose. So one of my goals, and one of the goals on our call today, is to change that. Is that everybody on this call could state your purpose after you work through a few of those tools that Gail has given you access to. So if people don't know their purpose, think about this. If people don't know their purpose, how can they effectively live it out? And this may be even a bigger question. Who loses if they don't? If you don't know your purpose in life, how can you effectively live it out? And who loses if you don't? That's deep. Good news is it can be made easier. There's 3 principles we're going to talk about today of purpose. 3 principles of purpose. The first one is everyone has a purpose in life. And a big question is, do you believe that? If you don't, you should, because we do. Every person you meet has purpose. They may not be living it out. They may not even be anywhere close to living it out. Maybe they're partially living it out. But everybody has purpose in life. The second principle is everybody can and should know their purpose in life. So it's not some secret that my purpose in life, I have to go live in a monastery somewhere for 6 years to figure out my purpose in life. You don't have to do that. It may feel like it's hidden, but it's not that hidden. Everybody can and should know their purpose in life. And the third one is everybody can and should be taking action every day to fulfill that purpose. So let's talk about it. Let's start with the first one. Everybody has a purpose. Believing that is fundamental to every human relations model that's ever been developed. Everything taught in leadership goes back to everybody has a purpose. Every person is important and has a unique purpose in their life. But here's the deal, it belongs to you. Finding it and living it out is your responsibility. It's not Gail's. It's not Kristen's. It's not mine. It's yours. Ben Franklin, perfect example. You guys may have read in school, or if you've read any about Ben Franklin, you know he had 13 virtues that he created this little book, and he tried to live out those virtues, and he focused on those virtues, and he saw that was part of his purpose in life, to live out those virtues. The reality is Ben Franklin had 12, not 13. The 13th one came from a friend. Ben shared his virtues, his 12 virtues, with a friend. And the friend said, Ben, those are good, but you need another one. You need humility. So he said, okay. And that's where the 13th virtue of humility came in. The problem is, at the end of Ben's life, he was asked about it. How did you live out those virtues? And he said, you know what? I think I did well on 12 of those virtues, but not on humility. And one school of thought is maybe he didn't do so well on humility because it wasn't his. Not that he wasn't humble at all, but he just didn't own it because it wasn't his. So nobody else can tell you what your purpose is. Other people might help you discover it, and that's what we hope to do. And the gift that Gail has given you today is what she hopes to do with it. But she can't give you your purpose. You have to discover it. And it's yours. The second one, everyone can and should know their purpose in life. So everybody has one. You should know it. So you guys have that 30-day free subscription to Irrefutable Success University to discover that. In week 1 of those 4 weeks, you'll have a tool to discover or rediscover or maybe refine your purpose in life. See, it's never too early to start. It's also never too late to start. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what you've already accomplished in life. It's never too late. We just had a 78-year-old lady work through the tools on her purpose in life. And she worked through there's like 5 steps. She worked through the first one and the second one. And she made the statement, I'm not sure how this is going to help me discover my purpose in life. But she kept going. When she worked through the final step, she said, you know, I get it now. It all came together, and I see what was happening all along. I just couldn't see. And that's the way it is with people. Most of us, we see bits and pieces of it, but when you work through it, it'll come together. It's personal. It takes time. You have to work through it. I would love to say it's easy. It's not, but it's worth it. There are some easy questions. There are some challenging questions. But it's worth your investment of time. It's worth the investment of your time. Think about those words, your time. Your time. Every minute, every second of every minute, of every hour, of every day that you live is your time. And guess what? If you were to see a countdown timer, that number is not going up, it's going down. You've got a certain amount of time, and it's going down. So every day is important. That's why we say every day is game day. It's all about you, and then it's not. This is where purpose gets so cool. It's all about you, and then it's not. It's about you to figure out your purpose in life. It's about you to know your purpose in life. It's about you to share your purpose in life. It's about you to live it out. And when you start living it out, it starts benefiting other people. So it's not a selfish thing to do. It's a very unselfish thing to do, because you're going to have to work at something maybe you've never worked at before, a little harder at looking deeper at some things maybe you've never looked at before. But it's worth it because ultimately it's going to benefit other people. The third one is everyone can and should be taking action every day to fulfill their purpose. Imagine what this world would be like. Just think about it. Imagine what this world would be like if everyone fulfilled their purpose in life. It's pretty deep. Now let's take it one step further. I want you to imagine a lady who's in school with a desire to go to med school, and she's got this great interest in how viruses work and how to eradicate viruses. And she's sitting in class. Maybe it's chemistry, maybe it's microbiology. She's sitting in class, and maybe the teacher's not that good. And she starts to lose interest, and she quits. Or maybe it's hard. Maybe it's just hard to get through. You know, like runners in a marathon, they hit the brick wall. Maybe she hit that brick wall and she just quit. What if she was the one that had this desire to eradicate the world of the common cold, which coronavirus is related to it, and she could have come up with something that could have knocked out coronavirus or COVID-19 before it ever raced around the world? How many lives could have been saved if she hadn't given up? How many lives could have been saved if she, and you know what? We're never going to know who that person may have been. We're never going to know the day she decided to quit. So think about that. What is undone right now that could have been done had people followed the purpose in life and lived it out? It's some deep stuff. For being on the call today, you've got access to that, and that's just week 1. In week 2, you're going to start to look at your life as a whole. And there are 8 areas of life that include every aspect of your life. Some may be more important to you than others, but there's physical, spiritual, emotional, financial, intellectual, relational, recreational, and vocational, your work. In all of those areas, you can live out your purpose, and all of those areas are important to take a look at. You're going to do that in week 2. Everyone plays an important role of your level of irrefutable success, and the level of irrefutable success that you can achieve in life and work. Then in week 3, what you're going to do is you're going to write out your vision. This is where you have a picture of what it's going to be, where you're specific about what you're going to accomplish in life and work, and how that positively impacts the people around you. In our book, Uncommon Influence, Kevin Harrison, Dean Christine, and I define uncommon influence as being influence that changes the trajectory of another person's life. Think about this: whether you're involved in a foundation or a hospital or a school or a corporate, or whatever you're doing, as a leader, as an individual, if you have influence that changes the trajectory of another person's life, think about what that can do. Let's go back to the lady or the girl that was in class and she quit. Maybe it was high school, maybe it was in college, I don't know, but she quit because that teacher didn't have that kind of influence on her to help her work through the hard part. Think of the difference that could have made in so many lives today. We don't know. The reason we don't know is because nobody's done it yet. So imagine having that type of influence at work. Imagine your organization having that kind of influence, or in any area of your life that can actually change the trajectory of another person's life. Think of a person who had that kind of influence on you. Who had influence on you that changed the trajectory of your life? Now, write that person's name. Gail, you were going to say something.
I was going to say something, Tim. So in preparation for the session, I went back and looked at our work that we did together about 5 years ago, I think it was now. And working through this whole process, I found my purpose in life and worked with you throughout it. And I remember you saying, oh, it would be terrible if your life ended today. And you kept saying to me, and there was something inside of you that never came out. Right? There was something you were supposed to do that never happened. What a tragedy that would be. But it was very interesting because when I did that, my life, my purpose, my passion changed. And I started reshaping my life to move where my passion actually lied and where my purpose actually was. And as you know, God expedited that a little bit by creating a job situation where I lost my job. But my life became fulfilled because I was able to actually put that together. So I just want to put that out to people. I remember sitting down and working and being honest with myself and working through that program. It took time. It took honesty. It took the ability to actually look at things, to look at what you're good at, what excites you. But it actually changed the trajectory of my life and where I was going. And ultimately, Lift Leadership and what we're doing now has actually helped millions of other people. Our tagline is, to elevate human potential. But when you find your purpose in life, it's very easy to get up in the morning. I remember being so distraught, like, oh, I've got to get up. I got one more day, and oh, I've got to deal with this person. I've got to deal with that. But when my purpose came into play, it became a completely different life for me. And I just wanted to add that in for people who are hearing this message right now.
Wow. Thank you, Gail. That is so cool to share with everybody. The reality is you guys wouldn't even be on the call today if Gail had not done that, because there wouldn't be a call today. There wouldn't be Lift Leadership. And all of the hospitals and schools and universities and organizations that are impacted, and the people that those organizations impact wouldn't be impacted in the way that they are being impacted and are going to be impacted because Lift Leadership exists. Think about that. Just because Gail did the hard work and she worked through it, it's worth it. Thank you, Gail. The other thing I was thinking about is the book, The Foundation. We tell a story that's based on a lot of true stories in that book, Gail, and the story can impact people. And the reality, guys, Gail and I may never know who has been impacted by that book. Now, when Gail and I do live days with organizations, with hospitals or universities or corporations, we'll see that day and we'll be able to talk to people and interact with people. But with the book, Gail, we're never going to know who reads it. Gosh, I just thought of a story. Kristen, can you be on Audible?
Yep, I'm here.
Can you tell the group what you just told me today about what you saw on, was it the Today Show?
Good Morning America. Yeah. So you'll have to forgive me. As I said earlier, I am not a sports person, so I don't know names of anybody. But I was watching Good Morning America yesterday, and the big news is the NFL draft. So they were interviewing somebody, and I should have written his name down, but it was a gentleman who apparently plays a very big role in this, and they were talking about he's going to kind of be running this from the basement of his home. And as they're interviewing him, he's got a bookcase behind him, similar to what you have. And up in the far top corner, I see a book cover that says On the Clock, which I immediately recognized as your book. So that was kind of cool. So here's this guy who I think, and again, I don't know his name, and I was trying to Google it earlier and I couldn't figure it out, but that is obviously a very important player, quote unquote, in this whole NFL drafting, and he's got your book sitting up there in a prime position, and it's on national television, which I thought was pretty cool. And of course, I had to share that with you. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
See, I had no idea, but there was a time when that book was kind of, we worked on it for a while, and we laid it aside and picked it back up and laid it aside and picked it back up. Had we not picked it back up, it wouldn't be on his bookshelf. Now, I have books on my bookshelf I've never read. He may have never read it. Who knows? Maybe it was just a gift to him from somebody. And like you said, Kristen, I don't even know who he is. And it really doesn't matter who he is. But the fact is it's there, and it's possible that book could have impacted his life, or he may use it to impact somebody else's life. You guys have that kind of power, and you may never know. You may never know who you help. Hopefully you do. Hopefully you hear a lot of it, but you may never know. It's still worth it. So think of the person who has had a common influence on you, and then write that name on a piece of paper or something close by now and come back to it later today. But what I'm going to ask you guys to do is connect with that person. I can't tell Kristen what that meant for me to her to share that with me. It was just made my day. But write their name down and contact them today. Reach out to them and say, I just want to share something with you. I've been thinking about this, and you really impacted my life. I heard a term today called uncommon influence, and it's influence that changes the trajectory of somebody's life. I just want you to know that you had that kind of influence on me. Can you imagine what that feels like to hear? And hopefully you guys hear it someday. And you probably already have, and there's more to hear. But reach out to them. And you may be thinking, there may be some people on the call today who are thinking, I can't do that because that person has already passed away. Here's the deal. That person has family or friends that you can go to and just say, I just want you to know the kind of impact your dad had on me, or your mom, or your uncle, or your aunt. I just want you to know, I can't go tell them, but I can tell you. Think about how powerful that would be. And you may even influence that person to do something with their life because of what their parent had or how their parent had influence on you. So once you discover, rediscover, or refine your purpose in life and work, once you've looked at the 8 critical areas of your life and have a plan, you'll work through a plan to make your life even better. And once you have a clear and impactful vision written out, it's time to share. That's the scary part. If the comments section were working, I would ask everybody, is that scary, yes or no? And here's my guess. I don't want to put, Kristen, I don't want to put you on the spot, but my guess is you would say yes. Gail, you would say yes.
Yeah, because it's kind of like whenever you're saying, okay, I'm going to go on a diet, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. And when you tell somebody, okay, I'm going to do this, that person knows, and then they're going to keep you accountable. So it's kind of like, okay, well, what did you do this week to meet your goals? What did you, and if you don't, then you have to go, okay, well, I haven't moved forward. And that's scary because you're drawing your line in the sand, I'm going to do this. And
right.
I think it's very much the same situation, but on kind of a more, a deeper, more impactful level than just because it's not just you and something maybe is not that losing weight or being healthy is trivial, but this is a bigger deal. Maybe it's going back to school or something that's a major commitment that you want to do to move forward with your purpose. So
absolutely. Gail, what would you say?
I would say absolutely. And what is really great about working through this program, and Tim, as you know, I've been certified in Dr. Cialdini's Principles of Persuasion, but he talks about that if you really want to make something work, you actually write it down, which is what your program does. It creates an opportunity for you to write it down and then to make it public. And things become alive when you make it public, when it becomes active and you make it public. And it's not just those other people that keep you accountable. It's also what happens inside yourself. It's magical when you say it and write it down and, excuse me, confess it to somebody else. It gets ingrained in your own system. So it's definitely something that is it's magical what happens from it.
Gail, you blew by something I want to go back to. How many people in the world are certified in what you just mentioned?
Dr. Cialdini's Principles of Persuasion, I was number 18.
Number 18 in the entire world. Who was the first female ever?
Well, I'm not the first female. I'm actually I was the third female.
Third.
So we're actually, Kristen and I are working now on creating a whole program around that to empower women, empower them in the workforce, empower them outside, and minorities, because principles of persuasion are available. How to ethically use them and apply them are things that most people don't know how to do. We do things because we got lucky and something works, but we don't know why. So.
Absolutely. Well, what is so cool is that earlier in the call today, you mentioned something I was about to mention right now. And Gail hasn't seen my notes. It's just because it's true. I was going to ask the question, what's the reason for sharing? It's scary, but what's the reason for sharing? And the reason is once you share your vision, once you share your goals, it puts it out there, and then you got some responsibility. You got people watching you. You got people pulling for you. You might even have some people pulling against you, but it's okay. That's a reason. I remember when I played slow pitch softball back in the day, our team was good. I would turn the camera and you could see a few trophies. Last year there was this group was cleaning out their trophy case, and it was all our trophies, and they just threw away trophies, and just threw. I mean, it was garbage, large garbage cans full of trophies. And I told them there were 4 trophies I wanted to keep, so I grabbed them and I have them. But we were really good, and people would line even the outfield, even the foul lines. Because they were coming to see us lose, because there were a lot of people pulling against us. You know what that did? People pulling against us made us want to win that much more. People pulling for us, they were there too, made us want to win. So yeah, it's scary. Somebody may be a naysayer to you. We address that. You'll see it in that month one. They may be a naysayer. You can't do that. But when they say you can't, it just makes you want to do it more. It does something inside you when you share it. I'm going to share a story. This is a personal story with you guys, but it's something that happened to me, something that I did. It turned out good, but there was a time when I was really concerned. So when I wrote my second book, The Street Sweeper, I could see the story develop in my mind. To me, as I was writing it, it was like a movie. It almost felt like I was writing a movie script. And one day, my publisher called and said, Tim, I'm not sure if anything's going to come of this, but a filmmaker in London has read your book and they're interested in making it into a movie. Now, here's a question. What do you guys think I did next? Gail, you want to jump in? What do you think I did next? Since comments aren't working, I'll pick on you and Kristen.
Probably going back and looking at any edits you needed to make or what you needed to do.
You're giving me too much credit. Kristen, now that I kind of dropped that, the question's going to be a little easier for you. What do you think I did?
I just think you probably were like, oh my gosh, that's amazing, and got really excited. That would be my initial response.
You guys are nice.
Tim, let me jump in.
I did not do what, Gail, what you said, which is the thing to do. I did do what you said, Kristen. What do you think I did next?
Freaked out.
Did. What do you think I did after that?
Told your family and your friends.
Yeah. So more than just friends. I told everybody who would listen, my book is going to be made into a movie. I told them, and I don't know. I started to say I wasn't bragging. Maybe I was. My book's going to be, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And if you guys know the process, if anybody out there knows the process, you're probably laughing at me right now, because the first thing to happen is to sign an option agreement. That means that the people who say they're interested will put an option agreement together. And that's just an agreement that gives them a right for a year or more, but generally for a year to think about it. Not do anything, just think about it. And I hadn't even signed the option agreement yet. My publisher said, I think there's somebody that's interested. I don't know where it's going to go. And he was guarded like he should have been. I wasn't guarded. I think we're going to make a movie. I think we're going to make a movie. Now, if you guys know the process, there's a time of development there that things can fall apart really quick. And they did, like 3 times. Literally, it was like, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And I thought, whatever lesson, I prayed it. I said, God, if there's a lesson I'm supposed to learn here, let me learn it, because this is embarrassing. I don't ever want to learn it again. You know? But can you imagine how I felt at those times where it didn't look like it would happen for one reason or another, and I would have to go back and tell people? I couldn't even remember who all I told. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Here's the thing. That period did 2 things inside me. One is it made me feel like I wish I'd never shared it. Now that sounds the opposite of what I just said, share it. But I had to go through that. It's the second thing that it did inside me that really mattered. Second thing is it made me work harder to find a solution to make it happen. They were funding it. I didn't have to put in any money. They were doing all of that. But we were on calls, and I had to search and try to find ways. Did a lot of praying too, obviously, but try to find ways to for this to happen. And then finally, one day I was on set, and someone snapped that clapper board together, and somebody else yelled action, and the camera was rolling. And then later, I was getting out of a limo on a red carpet at the premiere, and it was, cameras flashing. It was all cool, but we had to go through those deep, dark times where it didn't seem like it was going to happen. The same thing, if you have a great goal. Gail, I'm not going to ask you to share anything, and I'm not thinking of any examples, but my guess is when you start a business, when you started Lift Leadership, there were times you were like, what in the world have I stepped into? I know my purpose. I know this is in my heart. I know I'm going to do it. And I've told people, but what in the world am I doing? I'm trying to figure it out as I go sometimes. That's the way it feels. You know what, guys? It's okay. It's worth it, because look what Gail did. She created it. Now it's here. Lift Leadership exists. Lift Leadership is helping people all over the country, maybe by now, Gail, all over the world, that would not have been helped had she quit. So sharing it made me work harder to make it happen. Throwing it out there, it's important. Sharing your purpose, your plan for life, your vision for the future that you're going to do. When you do that with some other people, it's tricky. Fortunately, in week 4 of this gift that Gail's given you guys, you're going to be fine. It's going to walk you through the process. Who do I need to even share it with? How do I share it? And you know what? You guys might accomplish something you thought never before possible. Here's the deal. Other people need you. Other people need you. Listen to me. Everybody needs you to live out your purpose in life. Do you believe that? You've got to. You've got to. And then do it. Do it for others. Do it for yourself. Do it for us. Because who knows what you might do that could change the trajectory of other people's lives, and they do something in their life that changes the trajectory of the world because of something that you did. Think about it. Gail, you had asked us to open up some time for Q&A. You want to do that now?
Absolutely. Our questions, we have somebody remotely doing Facebook Live. If there's any questions there, you can enter it in. But Tim, as we're waiting for questions to come in, I just wanted to comment. You talked about, is there a time where you think, what am I doing? Well, COVID-19, I mean, Lift Leadership is a teaching training company where we go and we huddle and train people, and COVID-19 hits, and all of a sudden all of our workshops are canceled. I mean, talk about hitting like, what am I doing here? What are we doing? But we've used that time to come back and to sharpen each other. Kristen and I used that term the other day, iron sharpens iron. And to be able to come back and look and prepare new materials. And we've actually come up with new things that we never would have been able to come up with if we'd not had COVID-19. So it's so easy, I think, to sit in your circumstances and look around and focus on your circumstances and only see what's happening right in front of you. And you think that's the end, but it's not. It's a bigger picture of what can happen through that. And you know, Tim, I owe a lot to you to teaching me how to do that and step back to look at that bigger picture.
Gail, you did the work. I was just thrilled to be along beside you to see the amazing things that you're doing. You did it. Thank you.
Well, and I think I want to encourage everybody here to do it because everybody on this call, Facebook Live and here and on our videos that will go on after this, it's scary at first, but sometimes you just got to feel the fear and do it anyway, because what you get on the other end is just so amazing.
You know, it may be, Gail, it may be that people are not going to do something different. They're just going to do it better. I'm going to share with you guys my mantra during this COVID-19 thing, and we're having some technical issues with an email address. So if anybody wants to email me at Tim Enochs, TIMENOCHS @gmail.com. I'll be happy to send you this little blog post that I did. But I titled, well, I'm not going to say the title yet. I'm going to tell you what it's about. I made a decision that I'm not going to go back to normal. You know, everybody's like, I'm ready to go back to a Mexican restaurant and eat Mexican. I'm ready to go to this kind of restaurant and eat this. And I want to go here and I want to go there. I want to get a haircut. You know, I just want things to get back to normal. You know, I just wanted to get back to normal. And I made a decision. I'm not going back to normal. I am going to get a haircut. But I'm not going to go back to normal. I'm going to go back to better. That's my mantra now.
Yeah.
I'm not going back. And I started out that little blog post with, you know, yesterday all my troubles seem so far away. I'd love to tell you guys those are my words. They're not. But, you know, it's from a Beatles song way back. But the reality is we're going back to a future. Now, there are people who have had loved ones who they've lost their loved ones. People have lost their life. Some people, the trajectory of their life, of their family, of their relationships has changed because of this. There's no way to go back to better after that. But the reality is that we are going to go back to a future. The way things are right now, and you've got the choice of what future you're going to go back to. Are you going to go back to as normal as you can get, or based on what you can control, are you going to go back to something better? And what you do right now, remember the definition of game day. What you do today can change your future, and it can change the future of other people. So, yeah, thanks, Gail.
Hey, Tim, we actually had a question from somebody asking about, does your purpose change over your life? Which I'm assuming the answer to that is yes. And how often is that, if it does change, how often would your purpose change?
Oh, that's such a great question. Yeah, whoever asked that, thank you. I wish I had addressed it. So it's a brilliant question. Yeah, the reality, it's a little tricky question because I can't say for everybody. There are people who, my purpose in life is to do this, and they stick with it, and that's what it is, and it doesn't change. I think in some way, and you guys will see it when you work through the tools, but I think in some way purpose stays more intact, but mission could change. Okay. Think about it. Gail's purpose in life is to impact people in a positive way. And Gail, I may not be saying it word for word, but to have that impact, and it's built into the mission statement, or it's built into the statement, for Lift Leadership and all. It was that way when she was doing things different, when before now. It's still that way, but her mission has changed. Okay. She has the opportunity now. You guys have the opportunity now to reach so many more people because the mission has changed. So yes, the purpose can change. I think more so though, the purpose somehow stays intact. It doesn't change as much as the mission. Now to address how often, again, that's tricky. If you've got a mission and you need to accomplish it, and there may be a different mission, then absolutely it can change. Maybe if your purpose is to connect with people through writing and you're an author, then yeah, you've got a book project and your mission is that book right then. But then it's the next book and the next book, and then that may be some speaking engagements later that you never have even thought about before. So I'm just using that example. But the reality is that the purpose of why you're connecting with people probably doesn't change. The mission can change more. How often? Just be cautious about that. I wonder, and if Gail had some one-on-one time with the person who asked that question, guessing Gail, she would probably ask, help me understand that question a little more. Because if it's because that person is like a butterfly, for example, from mission to mission to mission and purpose to purpose, or if you ever watch a bee hit clover, and then go to the next clover and next clover, there may be something to look at and really discover what causes that desire to change so much. Maybe it's okay. I don't know. So I can't really answer the last part. It really just depends. But what a great question.
Tim, if I could add to that, I work a lot with mothers and working mothers and women, as you know, and what I get a lot from them is, I try to be a great mother, but then I have to do this at work, and then other times work goes and I have to do this at home. And I caution people to, instead of trying to look at you have to be wonderful everything, that there are seasons in your life. And I think your purpose gets played out on what season of life you're actually going through. My purpose now with Lift is to add value to other people, right? And to help them elevate to their fullest potential. When my children were little, my purpose was the same thing. My season and how it manifested was differently. So, but I agree with you, needing to dig a little deeper into that question is great. But I think so many times we forget that there's seasons, and sometimes every day has different seasons in it.
Because every day is game day.
That's right.
You made me think of something, Gail, there too. There are times, and to go back to the person that asked this question, it's so deep and so good. there are times that because of circumstances, we get pulled off of purpose a little bit. And even that's okay. Because if it's your purpose to run Lift Leadership, for example, and something happens in your family that pulls you away for a short season, don't let it be a long season, but you got to go take care of things. But you always, and that's the reason for having it written down and sharing it with other people, because we all get distracted. COVID-19 happens. We get distracted. This happens, that happens. What you do during that distraction depends on, are you going back to normal or are you going back to better? Perfect. Any other questions?
You were talking about, so somebody had asked, I wrote down, talking about influencers and that you have the people that are the ones that are trying to pull you down versus the ones that are lifting you up. When you've defined your purpose, how would you, it seems to me you'd want to be surrounding yourself with the people who are going to be helping you along and keeping you motivated and accountable. Do you have any kind of suggestions about seeking out those positive influencers? And if there are, certain types, maybe not types, but certain people that maybe you should go to initially that you found are really helpful in helping guide you through and lifting you up to continue moving forward with your purpose?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the gift that Gail has given you guys in week 4, that entire week's work is focused on who to share it with and maybe who not to share it with. And if you do share it with somebody who pulls you down, how to let that impact you. Gail said something earlier, I think it was Gail, said something earlier about iron sharpening iron. Mm-hmm. As much as I want people to say, oh yeah, this is awesome, go for it, you're great, and then I love that, I need somebody to say, but have you thought about this? So what you don't want to do is just find people that are going to be, what's the term, rainbows and unicorns or whatever. Yeah. Like it's all wonderful, it's all great, and all. You need those people. Sometimes those people are surface level people, and they say that and then they forget about you and never ask about it again. You need some people that'll hold you accountable, but yeah, in week 4, it walks through getting you to think about who do you want to share it with. And that may cause you to share it with some people that you might not think you want to share it with, but you should. Right. And then if you do happen to share it with somebody that is just a naysayer and tries to pull you down, kind of what to do with them. Great. It's a great question. But I think most everybody, if you sit and think about it, get alone somewhere and don't do it with a lot of emotion. Just be alone somewhere and think about, who do I really want to share this with? And you may share it with more, but you may share it deeper. There's a tool in week 4 that will let you create exactly what you're going to share with those people. So, that would be something. If Gail is coaching you guys, absolutely, she's one. You want to write it down and share with her in a really deep way. There's probably fewer people that you're going to share deeper with, and there may be a lot of people that you'll share more surface level with.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
That was a great question.
And then just kind of one of the other things somebody was talking about is, and I think we kind of touched on this, and this question came in earlier, how do you keep focused and motivated when things get tough? And I think that, one of the things that both you and Gail said was, when you really understand and find your purpose, that in and of itself ignites something within you that even when you come across obstacles, they aren't going to deter you. If there's a giant boulder and all you've got is a little, tiny hammer, like, what is it? Those little hammers, like, what's his name? And what was the movie where he had to dig the hole out? Oh, God. With Morgan Freeman, and what was the name of that movie where he escaped from prison? Shawshank Redemption, right? He's got that little rock hammer, and it takes him 10, 15 years to do. I think if you have a purpose, it doesn't matter what obstacles are in your way, and you're gonna chip away at it and just keep forging forward. Is that a fair assumption or a fair?
Yeah, in fact, some of the most important lessons I've learned is through some things that I did that wasn't exactly the best
Yeah.
work, you know.
Yeah.
So I'll answer that with respond to that with another kind of personal story. So when I was in high school, I wanted to write for our school newspaper. And I thought, you know, I could write a little, and so I wanted to write. I was a senior. That's one thing I wanted to do, write for a school paper. So I talked to the editor, and she said, "Yeah, all you need to do is get a letter from your senior English teacher, and we'll put you on staff." That's easy enough. I'll ask anybody anything, anytime. All they can say is no, right? So English class was my last. This was high school, so it was my last session or class for the day. I went to my English teacher and I said, "Hey, I want to write for our school paper, but I need a letter from you. Will you write a letter of recommendation for me?" And he said, "Sure, I'll write something." Now think about those words. Sure, I'll write something. You know, and I said, "Great. If he's going to write something, what's he going to do? He's not going to write no, you know." So I went home, told my parents and all, and so the next day I went to school, and he gave me an envelope that was addressed to the editor of the paper, had my name on it and all, and I took it home. I didn't think anything about it. It was my last class of the day. I was going to give it to the editor the next day, and my mom said, "Hey Tim, did you get your letter from the English teacher?" I said, "Yeah." Then she said, "Did you read it?" And I said, "No." I said, "You know, it's in an envelope." And she said, "Well, is it sealed?" And I said, "I don't know." And I got it out of my backpack, and I said, "No, it's not sealed." And she said, "Well, you interested in what he said?" I said, "I'm sure." He said, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, if he didn't seal it, then he's probably okay with you reading it." So I got it out, and it was short and sweet, and he signed it. And it said, "Please give Tim a menial position on the Trojan Torch staff." That was the name of our paper. And that was a big word. I didn't know what menial meant. All I saw was give him a position, you know. And why wouldn't he? I had a solid C in there in that class. You know, I mean, it was probably a good C, probably mid-level C, you know. I mean, gosh, what would he say? I looked up the word menial, and it said small, insignificant, hide him in a closet, make him think he's a writer, you know. And at that point, I could have given up. You know, I could have thought, well, gosh, my English teacher don't think I could write, you know. I probably got the C because of book reports, because I didn't want to read books. Imagine that, writing books now. I didn't want to read, you know, but I would get book reports and really not have read the book. But why would he not? But he said menial, and I let that be kind of an edge for me. You know, number one, I got what I wanted. I got the right, but he also taught me a lesson. So let's fast forward to about maybe 2 years ago. And there was a Chick-fil-A who had me came in. They wanted to do something for their community and you know, and they wanted me to sign. I was signing copies of the book, Kristen, you were talking about, On the Clock. So I'm signing copies of the book, and that book had hit the New York Times bestsellers list, USA Today list. It was number one on the LA Times list. And so I'm just having fun signing books. Forgot to mention I was in my hometown signing those books, and they knew me. You know, some of them had English with me. They knew I had a solid C at best in there. So I'm signing books, and I had somebody. Okay, this is embarrassing, but I had somebody to sign me because I couldn't remember everybody's name, and everybody didn't look like they looked when we were in high school anyway. So just in case there was somebody that, you know, knew me and I didn't know them, I didn't want to, you know, be embarrassed or embarrassing. So I had somebody telling me who's the next book I'm going to sign to and how to spell their name, you know. And so I'm signing books, and they told me this name, and it hit me. I'm like, that was my junior English teacher, you know. And I looked up. I mean, I was looking at people, but I would sign it, you know, and then look up and kind of talk to them when I gave them the book. And I looked at him and I said, "I bet you're surprised," you know. And he said something to me that had uncommon influence on me. He said, "No, I'm not." He said, "I knew you had it in you." You know, he was like, You weren't showing it at the time, but I knew somewhere deep inside it was in. And I'm thinking, like, how many things in life had I not given my best to? You know, and how many times have I missed it all along the way? My guess is you guys are like me. We're all like that. So, yeah, it's a personal story, but it happened. Gail?
I think we're about out of time, Tim. Thank you so much for being part of today. Like I said, you and your family are good friends of mine. I've gotten to know your family over the years, and I hope they're all doing well and staying safe in this COVID-19 and sheltering in place. But I just want to thank you for the value that you've added to our viewers today, to me, and you know, even today, learning so much more from you, and just very thankful and pleased that you're able to share what you did with our viewers here today. And with that, if anybody needs any more information, you can go to lift-leadership.com, send us a message. We'll get you those things out that Tim talked about if you can't see them up on the chat. And everybody have a wonderful day, and please stay healthy. Thank you.